We are working on evaluating powers, and our last question says evaluate using a scientific calculator. So if you happen to have a scientific calculator, it should have an exponent button on there somewhere. And it will look like one of four things. It might be x to the power of y, it might be y to the power of x, it might be a to the power of b, it might be x to the power of, and then a little box, or you might have what they call the caret, which looks like a circumflex in French. So you should have somewhere on your scientific calculator one of those buttons. So the calculator that I happen to have at home with me is this one here, and it has a y to the power of x button. It's right there. So if I want to do an exponent, I would put the base in, I would press my exponent button, and then type in what the exponent is. So I'm going to start with 3 to the power of 17. So 3 to the power of 17, I would not want to have to work that out myself, because that means I have to multiply 3 by itself 17 times. And if I had to, on my calculator, do 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 17 times, I would lose count. So I'm just going to try using my calculator. I'm going to do 3, and then my y to the x button, and then 17 equals. And I get a very large number there. So that is 129,140,163. So this equals 129,140,163. All right, our next one, I have 2 to the power of 20. So you could multiply that by itself, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 20 times, or I can use my exponent button. So 2, and then my exponent button, and then 20. So I have, that is 1,048,576. Now, you are not supposed to use your phone as a calculator, but you are at home. So if you don't have a calculator with you at home and you need to use your phone, when you're getting your calculator, if you turn your calculator sideways, you should end up with a scientific one, right? So if it's straight up and down, it's usually just the basic numbers, but if you turn it sideways, it should become scientific. All right, our last question says 1 to the power of 25. So that's 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, a whole lot of times. I'm going to try on my calculator, 1 to the power of 25 equals, and I just got the number 1. And that makes sense to me because 1 times 1 is 1, times 1 is 1, times 1 is 1, right? I can multiply 1 by itself as many times as I want, and it will still always equal 1. And that's it for evaluating powers.